Hello.
Ah.
That was spot on, actually.
You guys are having too much fun with this.
I could see maybe if he even is thinking that would be really difficult to be in that situation, especially now looking at, we know how David's life has went, and to be thinking things like that, I don't know, that'd be very difficult for me.
And I think it's like one thing I see for sure as well is he says this a lot too. I think David really cares what people are saying about him, you know? And I don't know if it's a pride thing. I think it's more of like an image of God thing. So like we were created to bear the image of God. And I think when David's hearing things like people saying about him that God's abandoned him or that there's no hope for salvation in him, his entire life has been in pursuit of God, really. And I wonder if like that just is the thing that really just wrenches him when other people are saying, this is the image that we're getting from you, right? This is what you're displaying.
And I think to also point out that in the ESV, that line says, many are saying of my soul is what I have. So, and I feel like that's a whole nother thing. You could be, that person isn't very nice or something, but if you go, that person's soul is mean, or that person's soul is, so precious or something like that, that's your whole being. And so if they're also saying that about him there, that's another level of, I think, intensity of thinking of that.
Yeah.
What is
Another
your
quick
second?
study for you, Jacob. We're going to get to you in just a second. Brandon, could you look up what the word soul in Hebrew means? Go ahead, Jacob.
Ooh, you're going there, man.
You know, I got to go there. Go for it.
That's good stuff. Well, I was gonna ask too, Brandon. I know you just asked of something, but for me, that second half says God will not deliver him, rather than there's no help, no salvation for him in God. So I think that's a big part too, is deliverance. That is a really big, that's a big, heavy word, I think, in the Old Testament, especially with the Israelites and the Jewish nation, of delivering. And then people who are listening, you often hear delivering from the evil one in the New Testament. And so delivering the exile with the Egyptians. So just a lot of deliverance language. And so when David is saying God will not, these people of David, God will not deliver him, it's almost a smack in the face saying, hey, what God's done for all your other people, he's not going to do for you. And so that's another added factor of David's probably like, it's wrenching him like, no, like, yes, he is. But it probably is like, it's not. And so, yeah, a lot of hurt there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm looking.
What was your question again? I'm just making sure I looked up the correct thing.
What was that word that I was going to ask? Soul? It was in your translation.
Soul. Hebrew.
Right. It says in the Bible, a soul isn't something you have, it's something you are. To love God with all your nefesh is to go beyond a superficial faith and make a soul level commitment. So nefesh is what it's saying. It's looking like it actually, Google Translate gave me actually in Hebrew. So I can't read Hebrew, so I had to actually look up some other way. But nefesh.
And I believe nefesh,
nefesh,
the whole idea of that is your entire being. So all of you. I believe that's what it is. So I know heart in Hebrew is lev. I know spirit is ruach. It's got that nasty at the end. And nefesh being soul, I think that's just like your inner self. And the heart, the lev, is like kind of like your feelings and the way you think. But your soul is kind of like all of you. And the reason why, that's what it is. Okay. So it's your entire being. including your external self. So it's including like my physical being, and we know this because we see dead bodies in the Bible, and the word used for them is nephesh.
Mm.
Oh.
And there's no spirit in them, right? There's no, the way we would understand spirit. There's none of that going on. It's just their dead corpse, and it's using the word nephesh to describe them. So if you think of nephesh, you're thinking about yourself. So this is me, like Casey, the way you see me, the way I am, my body. In Hebrew, it's really important to understand what that means. So when there's no salvation for your soul, nephesh, it's not really talking about my internal being. It's talking about like my damned body, you know, like that's what it's really talking about here. And that's interesting because I don't know if I would look at it that way at first. I would think about it like the internal.
This paragraph here, it says, in the Hebrew mind, we are composed of multiple parts. The body is the flesh and bones and the vessel. The organs are viewed as the seats of thought, the heart, emotion, the kidneys, intuition, gut, etc. The breath is one's character, what makes a person who they are. And the soul is the whole of the person, the unity of the body, organ, and breath. It is not some spiritual entity. It is you, all of you, your whole being of or self.
So there's three parts. There's the body, right?
Cool. Mm-hmm.
The organs,
yep,
and then the breath.
Correct.
And that's that ruach. Okay. And then the soul. So if you were to combine all these three, that is the soul. So it's the entirety of everything. So I'm curious what the word for body is. Because I know the other two, like the organs and stuff, that's more of like that lev. Breath is that ruach. Soul is nephesh. Interesting. Yeah, but this helps so much when you're actually looking into what the Bible's saying and how it's describing things like pain. So here he's describing this pain that's being spoken on him from other people and how they're identifying him. So if they're saying his soul, and the soul is talking about a very, at this point, broad picture of who you are, and it's containing all three facets of everything that you are, that's pretty rough for somebody to be saying that about you.
Is it GVIYAH? Givya?
I don't know
that one. There's not one of those things that will actually put it in my ear. Wait, what'd you say Basar was? Did you say Basar?
I didn't say that one.
Basar is an inclusive term for the body, which relates to the entire. Which relates to man's entire soft tissue, including eyes, internal organs, etc.
Oh, flesh. Yeah, I just saw that too.
The BASAR, Basar.
You get Jacob in this little master's degree. Come on, dude. Where's our Hebrew?
I don't know anything.
Now's not the time to be humble, sir.
I know. Well, I actually didn't take any foreign language with my little master's degree, so that's my actual. I do have, though. Let's see if this helps. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because no spoilers.
Suspense is killing us.
Oh.
I guess while we're not spoiling that, I could tell people who Baby Yoda really is.
Do it. You won't.
He is really
My dad
Darth
actually
Maul.
watched it before I did, and he said he knew. And I was like, no. I was like, don't say anything, please. So there's on this website where I found soul, there's a bunch of other different words, but body is not one of them. There's breath, and there's, some other things, but I don't see body as being an option.
Yeah, I didn't either. And that's why I came to the conclusion of the word nephesh. for soul, because the way that it was described to me a while ago was that that had more to do with the external body. But then again, I mean, I never really dove deep into it. It was just
Right.
a really good explanation from somebody who knew a lot more than I did. So why don't we do this though? Let's couch that. I wonder if we can get back to that in a little bit, maybe when Jacob finds something. But let's move on a little bit to verse 3. So we just looked, we see this just kind of typical David just lamenting before God of something that he's experiencing. And then we get into verse 3 and it says, "But you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory," amplified right here, "and my honor, and the one who lifts my head. With my voice I was crying to the Lord, and he answered me from his holy mountain, Selah." So let's stop there again. So let's stop at the Selahs. That gives us a good break point. I like that. So he contradicts what he just said before with coming to God and seeing something coming out of there. What are we seeing in this verse 3 and 4? Brandon, what do you see?
I mean, if we're comparing it to 1 and 2, of he's realizing, how many my foes are, how many people are now against me, and these things that they're saying about me. But he knows that the Lord is there for him, as that shield. And I love that phrase. "And the lifter of my head" is what mine says. Is that the one who
Mm,
lifts
Mm,
my head? And
yeah.
I don't know. Even I've always loved that phrase when someone's sad or something, and someone genuinely would be like, "Keep your chin up," and you're like, "You know what? Yeah, I'll do that." And it shows that the lifter of my head is the one, when is the Lord. When you're down, and when we are down, our heads down and we're upset, and to lift you up,
mm,
to give you, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, kind of like I would think of it more as like a giving me the confidence and the things that I need to come out of whatever it is I may be going through. Now, I'm not saying I'm going through anything as crazy as David is right now,
yeah.
but maybe that's where he's seeing it, as that he's well aware that the Lord's with him, and that
Yeah.
he's going to protect him, and and it's all in his plan, and he's still fully devoted of, "It's still up to you. I'll be here," type of thing, I think.
Yeah. Hmm. What do you think, Jacob?
I was thinking, Brandon, of the word assurance. He assures us of that he's the one that lifts our head. He's being reminded. He's being um, like, yeah, you're right, confirmed. You're be assured. Um, but I looked at the beginning of verse 3. I saw I have a friend who I was in college with, and he had this tattoo on his wrist, and it said "But God." And you see this a lot in Psalms and other places as well. Um, but it says, "But you, Lord," in my translation. And it's just interesting when you see what comes before that, and then you see, "But God," or "But you, Lord," and then it just changes, right? And it's that
Mhm.
assurance, it's that reminding, it's that, okay, let me remind and go back to the character of who God is. But God. And it's like, oh, that's right. Like, yes, I'm fleeing from my son. Yes, the Ark of the Covenant is now in Jerusalem, not with me. Yes, my life kind of sucks. And even for us, it's like, especially now, like, yes, we are in COVID times. Yes, things aren't really fun and things may not be good, family situations, whatever, but God. And so that's a
Mm-hmm.
small reminder, but I think that's a good thing that David shows us is when he uses adjectives of who God is, the lifter of my head or my refuge or my fortress. It's that's following some tragedy he's responding with that adjective to something that's going on in his life, if that
Mm,
makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I think of.
yeah, I could see that. And the other thing that I see too, so whenever he does say but in any psalm and how we say in our
Mhm.
own lives and stuff, there's got to be something that follows that, right? There's got to be a characteristic or something that changes what we just saw before that sentence and that word. That conjunction's there for a reason. And so what we see here is he describes who God is or who the Lord is. And again, the Lord is your personal God, right? So, but you, O Lord, are my, and there's three things, shield
Mhm.
for me. And so I'm thinking about he's fleeing from his son, Absalom, and just told everybody, if we again read 2 Samuel, at the first part, he was saying, get out of here quick, or else he's going to kill us quickly with his sword. So think of a shield, who that is, so his protection. And then he goes on a little bit more to do with that verse 2, I think, where he says, you are my glory. And this my honor is just amplified, so I'm going to leave that out. So you are my glory, and it's also clarifying, and my honor. And that has a lot to do with that section that you were talking about where people were saying this against his soul, saying, you are my glory, you're my honor, and the one who lifts my head. So what's cool about that to me is that it reminds us that we don't have pride without God, right? Like when you're proud because of something that you do, that's when you lift your own head. There's a phrase in the Bible all the time about how God talks about people with a stiff neck, right? And so that stiff neck is the analogy of if I put a hand on the back of my head and I try to push my head down to bow, stiff neck isn't going to move. I can put pressure on it. It's not going to move. I'm not bowing. I'm proud. And so that's me lifting my head, if you want to put it that way. A proud person lifts their own head, but God is the one who lifts your head. And he does that. We see that in the New Testament when Jesus comes and he's bowing before God and then he's lifted up. When we come into the family of God, we are nothing. However, we have become royal priests. And if we see two types in the Old Testament who are glorified above everybody else, it's the priest and it's the king, right? On the king, so on David and Saul and any other king who was worthy, we see the Spirit actually descend on them. It's the only person in the Old Testament who had that, other than a select other few. But the Spirit of God wasn't on everybody. It was only on that one person at a time. And then he did that through prophets later. But the priest is the other person who's super important because they got to come into the presence of God, into the Holy of Holies. And we saw that in 2 Samuel with Zadok, where he's saying, go back and take the ark back in there. He was with the Levites. And so that the priestly line and the kingly line, we are meshed up together as God's children, as royal priests. So that's God lifting your head, saying, this is who you are. So it doesn't matter what any of these other people are saying about him when God is the one lifting his head. So he's saying, that's my identity. That's who you are. That's who I am in you. This is who we are. And so we move on from that, going into verse 4.